Hey guys, it's been a few months since we introduced you to the Druid in Path of Exile 2. But one of the things we're really focusing on now is how varied each of the classes feels to play. The monk darts around quickly from enemy to enemy, building and unleashing combos. If he doesn't stay in combat, he loses momentum and has to build it up again.
저거 조금 봐봐야겠네요. POE2는 뭐
The warrior, on the other hand, is like a slow but unstoppable freight train. A warrior commits to big attacks and relies on stunning his enemies to stay safe in the thick of combat. When an opening presents itself, a warrior can use even larger attacks to demolish his enemies.
액션성을 강조한
The Huntress seamlessly moves from melee to ranged combat and back. The true damage potential of the Huntress is only unlocked when you learn to combine ranged and melee abilities together.
내년 6월에
Then there are the
베타 있죠, 베타?
spellcasters. The sorceress is a pure caster who much prefers to stay at range and drop powerful spells on her foes. If she finds herself surrounded by enemies, she would rather use an ability to escape than to take them on directly. The Druid is also a spellcaster, but unlike the sorceress, he uses his spells as a means to support his melee abilities.
곰이 좀
And by
재밌어
melee
보이는데.
abilities, we mean he can turn into a giant animal and rip his enemies to pieces.
There's not a job out there I won't take, so long as the pay's good and a crossbow can solve it.
크로스보우 석궁 같지만 총 솔직히 이거 봐봐 이거 그냥 세계관 때문에 석궁이라고 했지 얘들 총 만들고 싶었나봐. 근데 재밌어 보임 석궁은.
I'll take them all down, one bolt at a time.
When thinking about each new class, we really try to think about how we can make combat feel different from all the others. For the mercenary, that difference is the crossbow. A crossbow is fundamentally different than a regular bow because it fires instantly instead of needing to be drawn back. This means that you need immediate feedback.
샷건이라고?
Clicking the fire button to make the character shoot instantly, just like in a shooter. As soon as we experience that, we realize that there are a lot of design lessons to learn from shooters, so we fully embraced them. In Path of Exile 2, we have crossbows that work like sniper rifles, shotguns,
저격 샷건.
and
아니
assault
야
rifles.
설명 자체를 스나이프 라이플 샷건 이렇게 얘기하면 총이잖아 임마. 아니 미친놈들.
In order to really get shooter-like gameplay, we have to go
라이플이라고
further.
하는데?
In Path
이
of
새끼들
Exile 2,
총이라고
we
하는데
now
님들?
support WASD movement. You can now walk around in any direction independent of aiming.
아니 이놈들도
In fact, if
저격총이고요.
this is your
네,
preferred method of
샷건이고요. 뭐 이러는데
gameplay, you
이거
can use it on any class, regardless of what weapon type you're using.
인정해버렸고요.
You can change between click to move or WASD at any time.
클릭하면서 WSD로 무빙샷을
You can
할 수
only
있다.
hold 2 crossbows at a time, but Path of Exile 2 is all about interesting combinations of abilities.
무빙샷
And this
된다는
is where
소리?
ammo skills come in.
근데 WSD로 무빙샷을 한다고?
This is a burst shot crossbow, and right now I have armor-piercing ammo equipped, which makes it very effective when facing a group of enemies. since it
에모도
pierces
있다는데
right through
타냐?
them.
Bloody horrors!
But there are other ammos too. For a bigger single target, it might be a good idea to switch to Incendiary. The more projectiles hit the target, the stronger the ignite, so you'll want to get up nice, close and personal with this one. If you have a bunch of targets running at you, you might want to slow them down.
스킬은
In this
A무기를
case,
쓰고
you
더블
could switch
스킬
to
비무기를
permafrost
쓰고 이런
burst
식으로
shot.
스킬 자체를
Shooting a bunch of
지정한다.
smaller enemies at range
아,
will chill them,
스톱컨을 할 수
potentially even
있다.
freeze them in place. Once you have some frozen enemies though, you can switch back to armor piercing. Shooting a frozen enemy with armor piercing burst shot will explode the ice, doing a huge amount of damage to all nearby enemies.
샷건 자체는 재밌어 보임. 아 샷건이란다. 크로스보우 자체는 석궁
Another
자체는.
feature crossbows have is attachments. As you can see, when I equip it, it
보이죠,
appears on the
여러분?
underside of the crossbow. These attachments are just like skill gems, so you effectively get extra skill slots. And you can augment these with support gems, just like regular skills.
Fire in the hole!
These
여기서
grenades
우클릭이
take a while
12
to
이렇게 써져
explode,
있네.
so it's a good idea to pair them with some kind of crowd control,
턴까지
like
있어?
permafrost
야 근데
burst shot.
재밌어 보인다. 석궁은 솔직히 말하면 석궁은 솔직히 재밌어 보임.
We
근데
have other grenades too, though.
상상이 좀안
This
되긴
attachment
하네.
is a flash grenade. It does barely any damage, but
저게
it does a huge
뿔필이처럼
amount of
생긴 게
stun.
유탄
It
발사기라는
can
거
be a great
아니야.
opener before you run into combat.
다 석궁하게 했는데 2 나오면
Now, here's another attachment, an oil grenade. Firing one of these grenades coats the ground and nearby enemies in
이거
oil.
준비된 영상입니다.
Oil slows enemies down, so it's another useful crowd control mechanic.
솔직히 나오면 있는 잼 쓰겠어? 석궁 같은 거 쓰지. 안 해본 거 쓰지.
Now, another thing that oil can do is be set on fire. Any burning enemy or explosion will
아, 혹시
ignite the oil,
모르시는
causing
분들을 위해서
extra
얘기하면
burning damage.
POE2는 빡빡이가 아닙니다. 디렉터가. 디렉터 다른 디렉터요. 털보라고. 아마 색깔은 많이
One
다를
of the
거예요.
problems with
빡빡이
burst
스타일은
shot
아닐까.
crossbows is that each pellet doesn't do much damage
지금 이제
individually.
말하는 친구도
This
다른
means that if
디렉터예요.
enemies have armor, then it will be very effective preventing that damage.
옆에 있던
But
사람.
thankfully, you can equip an additional
다른
crossbow in your
완전히
second
다른
weapon set to
디렉터라서
deal with the weaknesses of your
털보가
primary weapon.
어떻게 방향을
This
잡을지
is a
좀 감이
rapid
안
shot
나.
crossbow.
예상을 할 수가 없어.
Rapid shot is great for closing
우리가
on enemies
경험해보지
because you can
못한
shoot while
디렉터라서.
running. In Path of Exile 2, we now have the ability to allow you to use some skills while moving. Being able to create skills like this opens up a lot of new design space and allows us to really increase the pace of combat.
뭐 피통 보시면
The
피통
armor-piercing
밑에
version of Rapid Shot slowly
체감
erodes a monster's
게이지가
armor.
있긴 하네.
Once
저거
the
하면
armor
기절
is fully
걸리나?
broken, you can easily switch back to Burst Shot to deal much more damage. Being able to run while shooting with Rapid Shot is also great for when you want to perform a fighting retreat.
POE1이 디아블로 2가 모티브고
Using
POE2가
permafrost
디아블로
ammo with Rapid
4가
Shot is also useful if
모티브고
you need
약간
to
이런
retreat.
느낌이라고 생각하시면
When you
돼요.
shoot the ground, it creates ice crystals. If you draw monsters back over
저거는
these crystals, they
아이스지뢰네
explode,
완전.
killing the monsters.
바닥에다 까니까
It's great if you
트랩되네.
want to set up a safe zone before pulling the next pack. Slowing enemies down can come in handy if you want to use the incendiary version of Rapid Shot. Using this skill requires that you charge up a little bit before it fires. But
석궁은
as it
진짜
continues
재밌어
to
보이긴
heat up,
하네.
it will do more and more
붕ጭ거리던
damage.
밀리 보다가 석궁 보니까 개 재밌어 보이네. 발열이 있나? 왜 저 빨개지지? 그
It has
뭐지?
a really
발열이
large
있네.
clip size, so you can just keep firing and firing with it. But the other really useful feature is that when the crossbow is heated up, it adds extra fire damage to any grenade that you launch. Now I've been using explosive grenades here, but it will work equally as well with flash or oil grenades too. If you use it with oil grenades, the oil will catch fire immediately.
그러게 스택이 있네. 바이올 추뎀인가 보구만. 디버프였으면 그 아래 칸에 들어갔을 텐데, 그지?
Another crossbow type that you can find is Power Shot. This one works just like a classic sniper rifle. Use it with armor-piercing ammo and it will
스나
penetrate
보이는데,
armor on
저격총.
targets. So it's a good idea to use when something's
와,
really tough.
저격총 씨.
Now this skill has another interesting interaction with armor break. If an enemy has its armor broken, then your Power Shot hits a weak spot and does a huge amount
아머
of single
브로크면
target
방관?
damage.
방관이라고 해야 되나?
extra stun for
반통이랑 좀
good
다른
measure.
느낌인데 아머 브레이크면? 방감이라고 해야 되나? 방관은 아닌데.
Now, the incendiary version of Power Shot is more like a rocket launcher.
반각, 그래,
It does a
반각.
big explosive
반각이라고
blast
해야
at a distance. One of the really useful features of this version is that you can explode any grenades that happen to be on the ground. This combo also works really well with incendiary Rapid Shot. I'm going to charge up the heat on my crossbow, shoot out a bunch of grenades,
저거
and
맵이
then start the
아니었어? 갈 수 있는
fireworks with a
길이었어?
Power Shot.
아니면 저 계단 그냥 맵인 줄?
The ice version of Power
완전히
Shot
변해서.
creates
근데
frost
사실
walls at a
핵앤슬래시란
distance.
단어 자체를
This is great for crowd
외국에서는
controlling monsters
잘
in
안
tight
써요.
passages.
다 ARPG로 퉁쳐서 그렇지. 사실
The wall
POE1도
segments have other
ARPG.
uses too. If they get destroyed by monsters, then they will explode,
우리나라에서는 좀
doing a small amount
핵앤슬래시랑
of damage.
ARPG는 조금 약간 나뉘는 느낌이고 외국에서는 그냥 통합적으로 부르는 말이긴 해.
Now, remember that burst shot combo with frozen enemies we did earlier? That works with ice walls too. Let's put burst shot back on.
그치 원이랑 비슷하긴 했으면
Now I can fill up
갈라먹겠지.
this area with ice walls, then shoot them with armor-piercing burst shot for a huge amount of
디아블로보단
damage.
재밌겠지. 오씨 깜짝이야. 보스 디자인은 좋던데. 아니 액트1 보스 아니에요 이거. 액트1 보스 다른 애. 힐록 같은 애 다른 애. 이거는 어디 액트인지 모르겠네요. 원은 아닌 것 같은데. 원일 수도 있고 짱일 수도 있긴 하겠다. 처음 공개되는 보스이긴 함. 보스 디자인 2가 기깔나긴 해. 엄청 기괴해가지고. 와, 애기들을 소환하네. 개 아픈데요? 약간 더 그로테스크해졌어. 맞아요. 근데 보스 피통을 좀 줄였나 애들이? 시연 때는 피통이 그러니까 피가 안 닿는 느낌이었는데 이번 시연은 피가 잘 닿네? 원래 진짜 막 스펀지 뭐 진짜 막 피 아예 안 달더만. 그냥 이게 좀 샷건이 센 건가? 아니 그 크로스보우가 센 건가? 와 근데 아프긴 진짜 아픈데? 왜 물약 안 먹어? 플라스크 빨라고요.
What is going on in this godforsaken city?
And that's the mercenary. It feels totally different than anything we've made before, and shows you the range of what's possible in Path of Exile 2.
나름 꽤 많이 보여줬는데? 저 이제 가만히 냅두면 레딧에서 그 외국 애들이 사지분해하면서 분석하거든요. 이제 그거 기다리면 돼요, 저거는.